60 seconds, one story, and a bit of a wrap up review of what's been happening on everybody's favorite peninsula. You know, the captains of the industry, the leaders of the world, the greatest civilizations, Europe. Okay, so we know that. Now, remember what Hegel said? You know, we're all going towards an absolute history point, and it's the European. I wish he lived a bit like today so he could see the debacle that statement was. But anyway, I digress. There's something going on in Europe. I'm here for it. I want to see it. I want to see it happen. Why not? I'm going to show you a little speech. Check it out. Okay, that is Maloney.
Roma! È Roma la capitale d'Italia e vi dico di più. Roma dovrebbe essere la capitale dell'Unione Europea e voglio portare questa rivendicazione nel Parlamento Europeo, perché la capitale dell'Unione Europea non può essere il posto più comodo dove mettere gli uffici, deve essere il posto che rappresenta meglio la sua identità millenaria. La capitale d'Italia è Roma!
Okay, that is Maloney. I always said to people, the next fascism will be run by a woman. She'll be attractive, she'll be a bit older, she'll be able to speak, and it's going to go. I'm not saying this is necessarily it, but you have to understand people like this speech in Italy. They loved it. Okay? The real center of Europe is Rome. 1,000 years of history. That is blood and soil talk. That is fascissimo. One of my favorite photos, and I can't find it at the moment, is I took a bit of graffiti that had been kept on the square where Mussolini used to give speeches. As a graffiti that says "No al fascismo," and it's always stayed with me that the people never again. And hey, why not again? At the same time, we've got the AfD coming in, and they're having an argument who really was the German bad guys. Maybe it's the other side, maybe it's our side. She's talking about switching on the pipeline, which is an act of sovereignty. She's talking about rebuilding the military, which is an act of war. Okay, because next door is France. And every time Germany sneezes, they invade France. So, okay, then you got the British there with Brexit. Okay, so you got Brexit. What does that mean? Why did they do Brexit? So they can go to war with Europe. Why else? Why else? I mean, why would you separate your economy from your neighbor unless you wanted to go to war at some point in the future? You wanted to either go to war or diplomatic war or economic war. You want it to be at opposite ends of the table, which they are now. And they're a debacle. They're a mess, which means that's a recipe for militarization, right? That's what happens to societies. We've seen it time and time again. Now, incidentally, on a tangent, it's important for anybody that's sort of into this sort of thing and watching this video. The history of Rome, it needs to be identified to people. They need to understand what happened in Rome, how it began. Okay, because at its instance, it was just a small place with, you know, bits of people getting citizenship, rejects, refugees, blah blah blah. And when the Celts come over the Alps, they got tribute from the Etruscans, which was north of Rome. Tuscany was named after them. And then when they came to Rome, Rome said, "But you're not getting anything." They sacked them, they bashed them, they killed them, they took advantage of their women. I don't like to compare that to a fruit. Ran off with a bunch of goods and set up shop anyway up north. Okay? That had a profound impact on the society. Profound. And that went from there to what is a fascissimo. It's a military-led society that is nationally focused on military conquest and global domination. But it begins with defense. It always begins with defense. And then it's like we need to defend ourselves by taking the enemy out. Okay, fair enough. We need to defend ourselves by bringing our border out. You know what? Those guys are pesky over there. We need to defend ourselves because they might come and attack us. Do you know what? Now we've got such a big empire. We need to defend ourselves by attacking the next thing so we show our strength. It's just this endless cycle. And it always, you can show me, you cannot show me an example. I don't believe you can show me an example in history. But hey, if you can do, where it didn't begin this way. So you got Britain, you got Italy, you got Germany. France is scared. Of course, they're scared because they're between a rock and a hard place. They need to make friends. That's why Macron runs the way he does, and he gets a lot of crap for it. But he's not. Their system is not stupid. The French aren't stupid. They know. They know. They're not caring about the US, dude. They're not thinking about Afghanistan or Russia. They're looking at Britain and they're looking at Germany, and they're going, in 30 years, you guys are going to come at me, aren't you? You really are. I know it. So they'll try and forge ties with Russia and they'll try and forge ties with Turkey. This is how it goes. For people that don't realize why this hasn't happened yet, it's only been 70 years since World War II. It's only been about 50 years since those economies recovered in a real way and were still under the control of the US. And it's only going to be another 10 or 20 years until they throw the yoke of the US off them, get rid of NATO, and just decide that they want to kill each other again. You know why? I'm going to tell you why if you don't know why. We don't like each other. Europeans do not like each other. It's not one country, it's not one government, it's not one entity. You can put the European Union as nothing but a cartel of steel traders and bullshit. You can rip off the currency and suck everyone in. Eventually, someone's going to leave. And when they do and print their own currency, the next ones will do it. It's on a tenterhook, this European Union. It's been a failure and it's being used as a geopolitical tool to come, oh, we're going to give EU to Zelensky, really? We're going to give EU to Georgians, really? We're going to give EU to Armenians, really? How do you think the Austrians feel that someone from Georgia can just drive over and work in Austria? Seriously, because they're European, right? You ever seen a Georgian? They're not Europeans. Not at all. They don't even look like Europeans. They're their own people, different people. So this is the problem. They've used it the wrong way. They've abused it. They've abused countries. The Germans are trying to be imperialistic against Greece, Portugal, Italy, Ireland. They've done the wrong things. So it's only a matter of time because we don't like each other. Greeks really don't like Italians. Italians want to like Greeks, but we don't really like them. They keep saying, una razza, una fazza. We say, get fuck up. That's a joke. But there's a lot of issues there, okay? There's a lot of issues there. You know, look at Turkey encroaching upon Greece. Look at Greece buying up weaponry and has a massive air force just to check Turkey. Look at Hungary, what Hungary's doing. Look at Germany, the struggles within Germany. Look at France running around trying to do duplicitous deals because they're in a bad place. Look at the UK trying to find its identity, having culture wars, right? What do you think solves a culture war? Boom, war. That's it. They will always solve a culture war because there's an external enemy, so you can unite against that. Their economies have been zero growth for 20 years, more or less. So this worse than the Great Depression, really, in a lot of ways. It's just a higher standard of living and some more social safety nets and a lot more borrowing. But ultimately, it's not doing well economically. What will solve that? Massive war will solve that. So if people think that we're not heading towards a World War III, like a really nasty sort of event, they're not paying attention. And the idea of sort of nuclear missiles and all the rest of it, that's a red herring. No one's going to throw nukes. They don't need to throw nukes. Nukes are not a tactically good weapon. This idea like that, I'm going to just drop a nuke and I'm going to win a war. No, you wouldn't. If you drop a nuke on a city, number one, that country will never forgive you. Number two, all the other countries will hate you. Plus, you'll cop nukes back to yourself. It's not smart. So no one's going to do it. And that's the end of it. I firmly believe that. And anything you hear is just bullshit all the time. So we have to be very careful to understand what's happening in Europe. Watch it. Watch America because it might well be their strategy to do that, right? So that Europe becomes a basket case and can't compete with the US, right? Because they'll just make more money out of them. They'll sell weapons to one, to the other, to the other, to the other. Do you know what I mean? And to finish, I don't just, this isn't just sort of speculation. I listened to a congressional hearing with the boss of the actual real boss of NATO, not the mouthpiece, but the US general that's in charge of it. And he said that there's going to be a whole new security architecture, but it's going to be after the conflict and it'll be housed in one country, which is going to have political problems, right? One country, and they're going to pay for it. So it's going to be very different. They're going to pull out of this idea of NATO being this, all the countries together, right? And it's just going to be NATO, but in one country. And this is what I saw a congressional hearing on it. And that makes sense, yeah? So maybe Poland, maybe Hungary, which might explain why Hungary is being really nice to Trump. But anyway, let's watch this space and let's be very careful.